Today we are talking with Terry Copley, Head of Learning and Experience at Hilti. And we are also joined by Rachel Walter, who is the Chief Innovation Officer at ansrsource. We are going to talk about training management and scheduling as a business need. We are going to talk also about the why of it, the how of it. I'm really excited for you to enjoy this podcast episode. We had a lot of fun. We are talking with Terry and Rachel about Answer TMS and the whole training and scheduling workflow in a company. Terry, I would love to start with you. 2 years ago, when we started off talking about training management and scheduling, you were the first person who said this is a problem that needs to be solved. Tell us a little bit more about what the problem was and what felt like the need.
Yeah, I think in the L&D space and the training space, when we became more and more complex when it came to not just running a 2-day training or a week-long training, and these things became journeys that spread out over, months and months of time, managing that using Excel, Outlook, and calendar entries just became a scale. The scale was way too big, and we had to keep adding people to our coordination team. And that took away headcount from the more creative side of L&D. And it became also the errors, the amount of errors and emails that were sent and calendar invites that were sent. It just became very unprofessional. So trying to find a way to professionalize that was something that was very important to us at Hilti. And so we started looking for things in the market that could handle some of that. And really, we wanted something very much process-oriented, very much that could be scaled and used in different ways. And so then one day had a conversation with ansrsource.
Yeah, I love the word you use there, professionalize. Rachel, you were in the thick of this problem yourself and in a consulting capacity, but also in the capacity of somebody who was really solving the problem. Would you tell us, what did you see and where did you see opportunity here?
There wasn't a solution really for a journey where you've got multiple components of training that need to run together, where you've got multiple people coming into the situation, whether those are learners or facilitators, when you've got multiple locations. So that complexity that Terry referred to, I think that was the biggest surprise to me, was that there wasn't a tool out there that looked at that as an ecosystem. And that's the single biggest difference with TMS, is that, we talk about it as a cohort management tool, but the reality is that it can manage any type of training. Where it plays best is if you have people who need to go through some type of learning journey in a step-by-step fashion. That could be onboarding, that could be leadership development, that could be a certification program that has multiple points. We're here at ISPI. That could be the AI for PI journey as an example of wanting to keep a group of people together over the time that you start your learning journey until you finish your learning journey. Now, in what's even more fun is you don't have to start at the exact same time. And that's probably another one of the things that is interesting, cool, different, and unique about Answer TMS is that you could start your journey on June the 1st, and he could start on June the 15th, and I might start on August the 1st. But our first coordinated intervention where we needed to be together face-to-face is September 1st. We can all still go through the journey in our own individual paths and then come together in the cohort environment in September. Another item that no other platform had, but is not unusual in the field of learning and development.
Yeah. For people that are listening to this that may not be in the thick of training coordination and management, but yet they are responsible for ensuring that efficiencies are met where they are available, right? Now, in my experience, I see a lot of enterprises that are large, just like Hilti is. Could you take us back a little bit into what the environment is like at Hilti when we think of training coordination, right? Like what is the number of people we're talking about? How frequent?
I think if you look at Hilti, we're a 40,000 employee company. And we have training departments all across the region, so across the globe. So you're looking at about 10, 12 training departments globally. And every training department works a little bit in their own local space. Okay. So one of the things that this whole analysis did for us is it helped us also build a global process. So now, what are the things that we all do, and what are the things that we should globalize and get some efficiency from? So even without the solution, the first thing that happened for us is, do we have a process? And can we use that? Can we scale that process across all regions? And we did that. So we gained efficiencies there. The second place we gained efficiencies was by being able to scale this and then automate it. You didn't need two people doing calendar invites all day long from their email account. Not from a global email account, not from a regional email account, from their email account. So now, once again, a professional piece steps in. This email, this calendar invite comes from Hilti Training Global. So now that's where you get your invite from. It puts that invite in your calendar. It tells you what you need to do to be prepared for that. So all of these things become automated. So now those coordinators can do what we want a coordinator to do: be a human. And go do that human part of the work. Yeah. Go out and answer emails if someone has a flight delay, or hey, something happened in an emergency. How do you fix the exceptions?
Yeah.
The basis of the work doesn't become the 90% of the work. The work becomes, how do I help humans fit into the process, not how do I fit the process to a bunch of different aspects. Yeah. And that was the biggest change for us. And I think even just learning that we didn't have a ironclad process across the globe was a huge undertaking for us. Yeah. But I think what it does is it takes your training department from an operational perspective to a different level. And that's where you need to get to.
A different level. Say more about that.
Yeah. So whenever you can automate or professionalize that intake piece, that back office piece, now you can start thinking about more creative ways to actually engage your learner, because the blockage isn't that's difficult from a scheduling perspective. Scheduling now is not an issue, and the system will help support us do whatever we want to do. So then we can focus on how do we engage the participant, how do we actually make it a change driver, not is, well, the easiest way, the most efficient way for us to do it is to do 4 days in a row, because that's efficient and it's easy for us.
Yeah.
But you're missing the other half of it. What is the most effective way for the learner? And so now efficiency is run by the system. Effectiveness is run by the training department. And I think that split is kind of an intriguing thing to think about.
That's a very interesting. I did not see that being wrapped around like that. I love that. Tell me, take us a little macro. One of the things we were talking about, that market reality, when you were in the market for, hey, there's got to be a better way to solve this. Why am I scheduling? Why are my people spending so much time scheduling? They should be catering to the humans and the learners. One thing that comes to mind is I would love to know more about what the market reality is. And Rachel, maybe you can talk to us about what is available in the market to solve this for big enterprises, and what kind of solution is actually needed, you think?
So I think, as I mentioned, there was a gap in ones that were able to do complex journeys. What exists out there today are things that are essentially event management. So you can see those with lots of marketing events, Cvent, things along those lines that are good event management tools, very good event management tools. Again, we're here at a conference and there's an event management tool that we use for the app for that. There are tools that are out there for training management as well. The challenge is that they deal with individual interventions, whether those are digital or physical, because and most tools only focus on one, either a digital or physical environments. And they focus on the individual intervention, not the set of interventions that you have in a learning journey. And that's the gap I was referring to.
Okay.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
When we did our research, there are some tools out there. I considered them, and we even tried a couple. and pilots. To me, they were aimed more at organizations that training is their business, so they monetize the business. We don't. I mean, we're internal, so there is a big difference between the need of what a learning organization needs that monetizes it, and that's their business, and then what a corporation needs internally behind it, because they have other systems that run their humans through the system. So human resources. So for instance, you have, as an example, you have Workday and talent acquisition and talent development. Workday, you have LMSs, and we needed something that could that could pull data from here to say, this is how we're going to workflow these people in to talent management or into training, and then also where do they go find their information that they need. Whereas a lot of those systems that were for the big learning organizations didn't focus on that integration piece that a corporation would want, right?
And the reason for that is because if you deliver learning as a business, if you have learning for sale, you need registration, as an example. And so registration becomes really important. That's how you're entering your learners, your participants, your people who are buying your courses into the system. But when you're inside an organization, you have a finite population. They're your employees. And you probably even want to structure those employees by individual contributors or certain departments or certain roles. And that's where TMS fitting in the middle between your LMS. We're not handling content. The LMS handles the content. We're not handling your hiring, your talent acquisition, your talent development components that are sitting in your HRIS. What we're doing is we're bringing those things together to say, here are the people, your finite pool of employees, and here is your content in your LMS, and you've structured that together. You need a way to execute, to get that delivered out to people. And again, you have facilitators who are doing that. How do you organize those facilitators? How do you match the facilitators with the rooms? How do you match the participants with the right facilitators in the right place at the right time? And that level of complexity is where you get, I've seen it all. I've seen people who are using, I used this example the other day of a huge magnet board where they literally listed the training rooms and the trainings, and they put them on the magnet board in a calendar.
Yeah.
I've seen it done in Excel. I've seen people do it, through all of these other ways, because they're trying to figure out, how do I get all the pieces together in a way that ensures that I haven't double booked a room or I haven't double booked a facilitator.
And think of it, like the individuals that are doing it, they have good problem solving skills, clearly.
Obviously.
But they should be utilizing it in solving bigger problems of the organization. They can be used better, right? That's such a good point. The other point, Terry, you made was about training engagement. And I was suddenly having that feeling, like you said, we need to spend time getting learners engaged. Because one of the things that I have kind of noticed or heard people say is the HR engagement activities are not really where engagement in organizations is happening. It's the training activities where real organizational engagement is happening. Not to say HR activities don't have their place, but training is where people come together and share knowledge and share experiences. In big organizations, those moments are so important to make the most of. So I really loved that you brought in the engagement aspect of it, because I think that's a really key factor that this automation solves.
I think when you talk about whether it's learner engagement, employee engagement, I think all of us at the leadership level have a part to play in that. So HR, human resources measures it. Every company has a measurement of what's our engagement level and retention and all those things. But I think the team leader plays a huge part. I think L&D plays a huge part. I think HR plays a huge part, and then culture plays a huge part.
Yeah.
But remove the barriers so that those parts can play together. And one of the barriers that we had was we spent so much time just coordinating things that we didn't reach across the aisle and say, hey, HR, what are you doing? How can we support you? Or learner, what was the struggle here? What was the struggle to get to Plano, Texas from Minnesota? What was the struggle? And how can we alleviate that struggle? We were spending more time booking the flights and trying to make those things work we didn't worry about the struggle.
Yeah.
So now let's focus on the struggle. And let's remove those struggles and barriers, because we don't have to worry about. I can now sit down today and I can say I need 10 onboarding programs in 2027. I can outline those. I can put my blackout dates in there, dates where I don't want anybody in the classroom. I can put all that in the system, and the system will tell me, here's the issues that you have. Here's where we've moved everything. You need to go look at session number 4. It will tell me all these things, and then I finish it. It's there, and I never touch it again unless there's an exception. Whereas before I was touching it monthly. So now I'm just touching it when there's an exception, and I can deal with an exception. And the cool thing about exceptions is if you start monitoring your exceptions and you get to a certain number of exceptions, why is that an exception? Let's go fix the process. So, look, if it's a 1% thing, okay, take care of the 1%. But if it's 10%, if we have a 10% exception, I don't consider that an exception. So now let's go fix the exception. And now I'm improving my processes all the time. That's what I want to see. And if I was a chief learning officer, or if I was a head of HR, that's what I want my training manager to come talk to me about. How can I help you execute your system?
So you're now getting predictive analytics to a certain extent, where you can now bring in, related to the execution of training delivery, that component. And I think what I'm hearing you say is, I can remember way back in the day, 2005, I think it was, when I joined Hilti and went through my own orientation training with Hilti back then, how special I felt when Libby Davis, who was the training coordinator at the time, I still remember her name. We're talking 25 years later. I remember her name.
Yeah.
And she greeted me when I walked into the training center. Like, she knew who I was. Nobody, brand new employee. And she knew.
I matter.
Yeah. I felt like I mattered.
Yeah.
And when times were tough, I was thinking back to the way I was welcomed into the organization. I was thinking about somebody knowing my name, somebody inviting me in, somebody asking me how my day was going, because when I did it, it was a 3-week-long training session that you went to every single day, all day long. And I was remembering how much I connected to the organization during that time. Not because I got an email invitation, but because a person greeted me, had the time, the energy, the mental space to greet. And of course, back in 2005, the company was a lot smaller. There were a lot fewer people going through the training program. And now at the time, Hilti was less than 12,000 people when I joined. And Hilti North America was, I want to say, like 1,500 or something, 2,000 maybe. Like, it was much, much smaller. You could manage that as the organization scaled. Now, I say you could manage that, but the reality is that, say you have only 1 or 2 people in your training department and you're trying to do it all. You're the facilitator. You're the training coordinator. You're the person who is...
Which is more often the case than not.
That is more often the case. Yeah. Exactly, is you're handling multiple roles. Now, take the things that you can put a process to, you can automate, take that away, and what that does is that lets me, even if I'm a lone practitioner or a 1 or 2 person team, 3 or 4 person team, it allows me to go back and focus on where can I engage with the learners, where can I be most effective. And realistically, people don't get into L&D to not interact with humans. Like, we want to talk to people. We want to be in this space for that.